thank you for tuning into another episode of the most entertaining podcast of all time. And thank you to all my fans, supporters, and listeners around the world, whether you're from a small town in Utah, to Los Angeles, to Sweden, to Finland, to Russia. Thank you, because with your support, we have become one of the most top-rated podcasts on Spotify in 2021. So thank you all for all your contribution and listening to this podcast. And I also got to mention one thing, just one thing. If you want to donate or contribute to this podcast, you can go to anchor.fm/The Prince of Fresh Air, which is in the links, and it's my main platform. And you can go to listener support, and you could donate anywhere from 50 cents to 10 grand. I'm not judging. But thank you guys for an amazing year, 2 years into this, and it's all because of you. So thank you, and let's get right back to the action, shall we? Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. This is your host, the most charismatic man in entertainment. And that's right, we are back for another episode. Another Jubilee veteran, I gotta say. It's an honor to have him. He's a YouTube content creator, former Scientologist, and soon to be college professor, and ex-airline worker. Let's introduce my man Lawrence. How you doing, man?
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I'm doing pretty good. It's sociologist though, Scientologist. I think Scientology is a religion. I
messed it up on purpose.
Oh yeah, a little bit of a hiccup. Hey, we good though.
Yeah, you gotta keep it rolling.
Yeah, got to.
Oh man, so like I said, I introduced you. I mentioned Jubilee veteran because you're another one who's on Jubilee too. And, we recently did one together. They changed the title. It was called Do All Black Men Think the Same? But then what is it now? Are all black men sexualized?
Oversexualized, yeah.
Oversexualized.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I had Avery on, like I told you, I had him on last week and we was talking about it a little bit, but I want to get your perspective too. When the video first came out, what did you think about it?
I thought it was cool. I thought it's hard, especially like being a video editor. I know it's hard to get like the small moments, like the little chit chat moments where I thought were really good, but you can't have, a bunch of them in a long video like that. It'll be, video gonna be an hour and then that takes down the watch time. So it was cool. I wish some things would have been in it that they kind of left out, like some questions, but I feel like for the most part, they got the good, they got the meat of it.
Right. Yeah, and that was one of my biggest things too, was as an actor and someone who does content creating too, is like I see the other side of it. I know how the industry is, and I see how they, they have a mindset and agenda that they're trying to push a little bit. So I wasn't too surprised because I've done videos with them before, and it's always like, what the hell? Like, this didn't make the cut. People were not going to understand this talking point more because they didn't get the question beforehand. You're never going to be satisfied. But
exactly.
What did you think though? I mean, the reaction was it was talked about for weeks after it came out. Like, what did you think about the reaction?
I mean, it was talked about for weeks, and then like initially it's that first drop that's like like it has the buzz, and then after, it's when it goes to different platforms. That's when people really start talking about it. Like it's on, Jubilee has a TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And when it reached those, that's when I seen more people like sharing it and talking about it. So I didn't really say nothing too crazy. So, people just didn't really talk about me, but I know they was cooking Avery for a little bit. They was on that man. I was like, yo, relax. Yes, hey, some of them was coming after you too.
Yeah, I know, bro.
Yeah, for the colorism comment.
Yo, but it's crazy because even still to this day, I'm surprised. But it's honestly, I've gotten more love than I did hate. And I'm surprised because when we was on set, I was joking about some of the answers that I was saying. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get brutalized in these comments. And turned around, Avery got brutalized.
Yeah, they cooked him. I was like, yo, It was, I think it was more negative comments I've seen about Avery than about you.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, it's. But you know what though? And we talked about this. It wasn't even for the podcast, but we talked in general about it. It's one of those things where you have to risk when you speak like that and you speak your opinion. You risk being judged. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Yeah.
some of the other videos I see them do, like people be politically correct. They want to toe the line, and it's like that's boring. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People want to see your
You gotta
opinion.
be honest. Yeah, for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just saying what everybody wants you to say, like a politician, rather than giving your authentic opinion. And it's not as fun.
Right, right. So let me ask you, some of the questions that they talked about was
Mhm.
very talked about. A lot of people had different opinions on it. Was there any question that when you look back at the video you would have answered differently, or you feel like you needed to clarify a little more?
Um, Not really. No, I'm pretty, like, for me, I'm pretty content with my answers, with what I said and what I gave. I feel like people didn't really understand. People didn't really understand what I was saying about, like, like black men that exclusively date white women. Like, they didn't understand what I was saying. But it was cool. Like, I feel like overall I was understood, and I'm pretty sure we know what I was talking about. Like, it's not a far fetched idea that sometimes these guys are different. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what though, and it brings up a good point because I was that was one of the questions that people talked about was the being pro black and dating outside your race. That's I mean,
Exactly.
I still get people hit me up about it now. I know you talked about it, but do you think that you could be pro black and still date outside your race?
Yeah, I mean, just because I don't feel like being pro-black is something that you have to be, um, I don't know, married to a black person to do. I feel like demographics, like I said in the video, demographics matter. Like, obviously, if you're in a place with like 1% black folks, like Des Moines, Iowa, or Boise or something, like, obviously, your picking's gonna be slim. And if you don't like what's presented to you, obviously you're gonna have to go somewhere else. So you can still be pro-black. It's all circumstantial. You can't be pro-black talking about, black women are all loud and I don't like obviously not, but
The
just marrying somebody is fine.
Right, right. And it's like I said, it's really up to the person. I think you can date whoever you want, just don't be starting that oh, black people act like this, and that's what
Yeah.
associate when you start doing that, it's like, all right, bro, you wild. But anyway, let's get off the Jubilee because I want people to know you too. Behind that series. So, tell me a little bit about your background and stuff like that, like, how you grew up, how you got into content creating and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I grew up real, like, uh broke. Like, I grew up in the west side of San Bernardino. I don't know if you know where that is, but it's not a very good place.
Is that California?
Yeah. San Bernardino,
Okay.
California. It's like an hour and a half outside of LA.
Oh, okay. I have heard of it, but I'm not familiar.
Yeah, it's tough. So I grew up on the west side of there, but it's just we was broke, bouncing from place to place. So I started content creating for other people, like, so I could, I would record them, edit it, and then send it back to them, and they pay me. So I'd be like, all right, cool. Like, it's a little side hustle, if I need some extra money or whatnot. But it eventually turned into me making my own videos because I had thoughts and opinions and things that I wanted to share with people. So that's where I'm more so now. I still edit videos for people, still shoot them for people, but more so now I make them because I want to. And with my background in sociology, it's like it has an actual premise rather than just I'm saying another guy on YouTube talking.
Right, right. And I think that's what's important when you do content creating, right? Is because you want to make content that's personal to you, but that other people can learn and grow from. That's
Exactly.
what this podcast is all about. It's about joking, having fun, but it's also about teaching people. Now, your YouTube channel, Larry Chats. What is that about? Because I know some people may not know about it. Like, what do you do with your YouTube channel? What's the purpose?
So it's social and political commentary. I've talked about things from, like, everything from colorism to body image to like what is that body positivity to like the creation of race, like literally everything. And I talk about it, given like empirical evidence from sociologists all over the world. So basically it's just social and political commentary, like little bits and pieces of what happens. I'll talk about it, comments on it, and then get dialogue started in the comments.
I love that. I love stuff like that because I think it's especially now, on the heels of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and a bunch of people being murdered and stuff. I think it's very important, which leads me to my first hot topic question for you. You know, even now, even on the heels of 2020, there's still a lot of social and racial injustice going on. And as a black man, like you said, you grew up, rough, and you understand, for some people, growing up in the projects and the hood like myself, there's a certain stigma that comes with it. What do you think about the social injustice going on, the racial injustice, Black Lives Matter? What do you think about the current climate that we're in right now?
It depends on like who. It depends on what we're talking about with regard to like the current climate, because it's a lot of folks that's just operating life as usual, because this is every day for us. You know what I'm saying? Like it's regular, like, but it's a lot of folks that's like, matter of fact, I got a friend, he's white. He knew about like injustice and like racism and shit, but he thinks that's in the 50s. And when all this stuff like last year started happening, like 2020, the protests and every Instagram had stats of like police brutality. He was like, this is like a real problem. This is crazy. So there's a lot of people eyes being open, which is cool. But if it don't turn into action, it's just talking. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we in a decent place to learn. Hopefully it can lead to some action later on. But for now, I guess we're just gonna talk.
Yeah, and you know what? I was critical even last year. I was critical about everything because I knew my thing is I support the movement and all that, but it doesn't do us justice when we only talk about it when a moment happens. Like George Floyd happened, it was unrest for the summer, and then it stopped, and then Breonna Taylor, and then I say a month or two after, we haven't had a protest or any type of demand yet, since then. So I think, although I do support the protests and all that stuff, I think we have to continue having these conversations because we can't just wait for another black man or black woman to get killed, start uprising, and then
Right.
as soon as the media stops, filming,
All
we
right,
just
what's
go
next?
about our day.
Yeah. Yeah. On
And
to the next on to the next new topic.
right now, let me ask you, what as we talking about this, you know, as a black man, constantly creating in the job force, do you ever feel like you're judged because of your skin color, or people have a certain idea about you because you're black?
Hell yeah. There's a lot of times I'm in spaces where especially now, like in the world of academia, especially in sociology or any science, everybody's white. And I've been to like conferences and just places that I wouldn't normally be, just walking through everyday life. And yeah, people make me very aware that I'm black. Like, what I'm saying? We'll be doing something festive, and then they'd be like, like a perfect example. I was at a conference, sociology conference, and music was playing. Everybody was having a good time. Was going table to table talking, and the DJ started playing. What was it? It was like an old "Crank That" by Soldier Boy. Everybody in the entire conference turned around and looked at me. Was like, "Yeah, do it!" Like, I was like, "Yo, hey." Yeah, so it's like moments like that where I know, like, I'm okay, yeah, like,
Jeez.
I'm black, but I wouldn't say judge necessarily. I feel like that just depends on the person. Like women, for sure, especially black women. I've heard a lot um like black men with degree, just generally black men are XYZ from like black women, but If you have like a degree, then they're like, oh, do you like white women? You don't love yourself. Like that, those presumptions come, but that's only from broken people usually. So usually, usually
Yeah.
it's cool. But most of the time, I wouldn't say I feel judged. I just say I'm definitely aware that I'm Black.
Right. And I asked you that because when I was talking in Jubilee video, one of the things I mentioned was how growing up I was told I wasn't Black enough, and you black, why you don't act like it? That was
Yeah.
the Do you get that because of your
Oh, for sure.
education?
Yeah. How I talk, there's been people that, oh, you like people that said I talk white. There's been people that say like, because because I have degrees, they, you know, make assumptions about me, like like you like white women. I've had people call me like, oh, you're like a white black boy, like some of the goofiest shit I ever heard. So yeah, that's definitely that just comes with the territory, I guess.
Welcome to my world.
Hey, I mean, that's the territory of success because if somebody's telling you that you talk white or you act white because it's different from how they act and you're in a decent place, that means that they hold white people to a higher regard than they hold Black folks.
Right.
So, I
And
mean, that's their problem. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing we can do to change it.
right, but you know what, man? It's sad because I remember I was interviewing a teacher from New York City, and we was talking about that, about how a lot of Black kids grow up and they have trouble fitting in. And one of the things that they do to seek attention is they get involved with criminal activity and stuff like that, and because they feel empowered by it. And that's why I feel like a lot of Black kids, especially in the hood and the projects, go that way. Because looking at how I grew up, I was always into books, chess. I played in tournaments, but I was never in the streets like that. I wasn't out at night shooting dice or anything. And I think that's why I got criticized so much, because like for me growing up, being Black was gang banging. You and 10 dudes robbing somebody, shooting up the block. That was considered Black. And I think it does us um a disservice, especially as a community, because we've seen it now in hip hop and rap music and everything now, where it's like, oh, every time you turn around, a Black dude is shooting each other. You know what I'm saying? But we're not praising the people, with education, who's doing good for the communities out here, building schools for Black kids, like LeBron is. We talk more about, the Kashi 6ix9ines of the world, and we care more about the money and fame than we do about education. And I think it's, we as a society, especially as we move out the pandemic, need to put more emphasis on education, opposed to,
Right.
oh, you're gonna become the next LeBron James, or you're gonna be the next big Tupac. Or I think we need to do more with educating the youth, opposed to, oh, you gotta get that quick money fast, or you gotta, do your side hustle, even though we know what they mean by side hustle. You know what I'm saying? That
That's facts, and I feel like with people like, because I guess I was a little bit of the same, but not really, because I was still out there, cutting up and shit, being bad. But I feel like that's definitely true what that person told you, because that's how it was for me. Shit, when I was bored, when I just felt like nobody, like I'm just coasting through life or something. Nobody really, nobody really take you serious till you throw a brick through a window, or like until you do something bad. So it definitely did empower me. But I feel like if you're young and you find something else that empowers you before you start, what I'm saying, acting up, then you will be fine. If that's why people in sports excel usually, if they come from, like, if they poor and Black, because that's one thing that you can focus on, that you can excel at, that you can always progress in, and it empowers you. Unlike
right.
criminal activity, you get attention from that and you love it. So I mean, I would definitely agree we should like focus more on education and people like in those fields, but I think we should too push people to find out what drives them. Like, do you like sports? Do you like chess? Do you like music? Like, finding out that early is something I don't really feel like Black people have a lot of, especially with 40% of us growing up in poverty. Like, it's not
Right.
something we have a lot of leeway to do. Like, let me find out what I like. Like, it's usually like, all right, we got to make this money. We got to, we got to keep the lights on. It's more hustle and bustle.
Right. And you know what, man? it's, you see it nowadays. You see a little more. It's still not emphasized, but you're seeing a lot more people like J. Cole and a bunch of other people talking about getting a college degree, having something to fall back on. Because the reality of the situation is, and I talk to a lot of Black people about this all the time, we don't grow up learning, about credit cards and credit scores. I was just having a conversation with my little brother about that, where it's like, you have to have a credit score, to in order to get certain things in life. You have to have a credit card in order to boost that, credit score, and how it all works and ties together. So when I mean by education, I don't mean, just, studying a specific, course of study. I mean, just learning the basics of things, because, a lot of Black people don't know how to handle money. People on Instagram, flashing cars and money, don't have a bank account. You know what I'm saying? So, or they don't have a credit score. So when they're 50 years old and you want to buy a house, they're gonna turn you down. So I think exactly, you get what I'm saying. I think that's why for me it's so important for education, because I was able to, as a kid, even despite the circumstances I went through, I was able to go to school with less student loans than most people. I was able to get opportunities because I had an education. Whereas a lot of times in the hood, I'm sure you can relate, they don't care about education. They care about,
about education.
They only care about what you're doing on the block. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, as you told about the job force and all that stuff, I know we was talking a little bit about this. You was a flight attendant. You know, how was that? Because I know throughout the pandemic, you see reports of people, flight attendants getting punched in the face and all that stuff. Was it crazy?
That actually happened to my coworker. She got punched in the face on the same flight that I was. It was two of us. And she was in the back. She was in the front. I was in the back. And she told a lady first class, she was like, "Oh, I need you to put your mask up 3 times." And then the lady, she said, "No." And then she said, "Ma'am, I just need your mask up." And she didn't like punch her, but she like, how you mush somebody, like you grab their face and you just she mushed her. She got taken off the plane, fined. I think it was $25,000, and she got put on a no-fly list because she mushed a flight attendant. Like
all for what? A freaking face mask
off a half an inch piece of cloth went over your nose. Like it's crazy, man.
It's mind blowing how many. Because I was at work the other day and I was just reading horror stories about flight attendants and TSA in general, and they was talking about how they were boosting the fines up because there's so many people not obliging by the face mask, which is weird because like when you book your ticket, you see it. I've been flying throughout the pandemic, face masks at all times unless you're eating and drinking. And it mind blows me how many people go on these planes, act like they're above everybody, and then get mad when they get fined, $30,000, and then they can't fly no more. It's like, come on, man, it's a face mask. I don't know. But did you enjoy your time as an airline or airline worker, or any secrets you can let buyers know? You know what I'm saying?
The secret, a secret that I would definitely say is Skip Lagged. It's like a website, so that books your flights for you. If you're like, oh, I want to go from LA to Dallas, it'll get you a flight like from LA to Chicago, but it connects in Dallas, so it's cheaper than just a straight flight to Dallas. So Skip Lagged is that's a pretty good resource. But as far as tips, that's really the only one I have. When you get on a plane, probably go to sleep. That's your best bet. Like, go to sleep. Don't, because we could really pull anybody off for any reason. Like if they're messing with us or whatever, like if we're not in the air, we can kick you off. But yeah, that's it for tips. Honestly, I really didn't enjoy it. Like it's cool going to new places, seeing new places. That's real fun. I loved it. But being from home 5 days, being away from home 5 days out the week, not knowing your schedule, it's just a lot stacked on each other. That's like, all right, I'm not really feeling this no more.
Yeah.
And if you're based in a different state, every day you work, you have to fly. Like for a while, I was in Denver, and I had to fly to Denver to start work. So if I was off, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I would get home on Monday or maybe Sunday night. I'll get home, hang out for a little bit, and then my last day off, I would use flying to Denver so I could be ready for work the next day.
Damn.
So it really was. I was like, all right, like I'm solid. Even if I was at home, I still got to be gone all the time. I'm cool. Like I'm not really with it.
Yeah, I have a gripe though with y'all flight attendants. You know why? Because it almost happened to me last year.
Let me know.
I had my flight booked, show up, and I'm sitting there waiting for the plane. You know what I'm saying? Getting ready to board. And then all of a sudden they make an announcement. We need some volunteers for some flight attendants to go to the destination. So we got to pull a few people. What the hell is that?
Wait, what?
Yeah, so apparently, I don't know if this is a rule or not. But so let's say JetBlue, because I fly JetBlue. So let's say they're overbooked, right? But they have 2 or 3 flight attendants that need to go to New York because that's usually where I fly to. If there's no seats available, they have to pull people off to get those flight attendants on there.
Oh, I've never seen that before.
Oh, really?
I work for United, and I've never seen people get pulled. Like if we had a spot, because it's free for us. So if we had a spot and we're like, okay, yeah, I want to take this flight, this place. If the flight was full and people had paid for their tickets, we can't get on. Like we just missed the flight and wait for the next one. But they would never be like, somebody got to get off, because ours is free. Why would they replace somebody that paid and give them a refund with somebody whose flight is free? That's crazy. Yeah, I never heard of that. They never took it out.
I thought it was a joke, but I actually read about it. Like that's a policy, and I witnessed it firsthand. It's like that's a thing now. Like
that's crazy. I never heard of
that. And I have another gripe too, man. Every time I want an extra soda or a chip, I can't get one. What the hell is that?
Yeah, that second walkthrough not happening. Like, nah, dog. Man, one of my coworkers one time, she was fed up with one passenger. She kept calling her. She was like, "Can I get another water?" She said, "No, drink your spit. We're almost at the destination." I was like, "Damn, drink your spit." That's vicious. Yeah. That second walk it's a lot.
Damn.
If I give you one, I'm not gonna give everybody one.
Exactly, because everybody, these.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, can I? No. I ain't doing that.
Nah, that's hilarious. Is there? I'm curious. Is there any misconceptions that people have about flight attendants? Like, people think that it's mostly women. All the men are gay if they are flight attendants. The money suck. Sexual harassment happens all the time with passengers and stuff like that. Like, is there any misconceptions or anything that you found interesting as a flight attendant?
I wouldn't say misconception, because everything you said, that's what people think. And for the most part, it's true. Like I swear I did not know that men that were flight attendants, it was like a predominantly gay like industry. I seen Soul Plane, but I thought that was just like, I was like, oh, that's just funny. Like it's just comedy. They made him gay because it's funny.
Right.
And he was funny, like fucking hilarious. But yeah, I didn't know. And then at the training, I have like 100 people like, oh, like, are you straight? I'm like, yeah, yeah, I am. And that was a surprise because I think it was 15 guys. In my training class, it was 15 guys and like 50 girls. And I think it was me and one other guy were the only ones that were straight, like of the guys. I was like, oh, this is like real.
Right.
Like, so that's not necessarily a misconception. That's pretty accurate.
More women for you both.
Nah. Not the ones we had. Nah. But it's usually like it's a lot of older folks too. So that's, they retire, so they like, all right, let me be a flight attendant, let me travel. It's a lot of older folks. Women definitely get sexually harassed all the time.
I'm not surprised.
I had to do during the summer, I had to do one report every week of sexual harassment. Like this person was groped, this person was talked to crazy, always happens on flights. I don't know why, but people just feel emboldened.
Yeah, they get a couple beers in and they Superman.
So you know what? Anything goes. I paid for the flight. Anything goes on this flight. Like that's not the case.
Right. people. You can't make this stuff up. So I'm curious, because I think it's one of those things. I talk to a lot of people, especially who content create.
Okay.
It's always an important, discussion that you have to have with yourself sometimes. Do you, although you do want to become a professor, do you find it hard, or you find that sometimes balancing the life of a content creator and the work life to be brutal for you?
I would, well, yeah, I wouldn't say brutal though, because work is only Monday through Friday now. Work is only Monday through Friday. So Saturdays, Sundays, like, I can get something in, maybe shoot a couple videos, edit them throughout the week. I wouldn't say brutal, definitely tiring. Like it's a lot to have to plan for, to have to script out, edit, shoot, but for the most part, like I say, I genuinely like it. Like I like editing videos. I like making them. You know what I'm saying? I like the final product. So not brutal, just it will demand some time though, as I'm sure you know. Like
Yeah.
it demands time, it demands money sometimes. So yeah, it's here or there. It's here or there on any given week.
Yeah, it's a lot of people think that, doing YouTube or even this podcast is just easy. You sit down, record a video, and that's it.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
done.
nah, that's just the easy part.
Yeah,
The hard work comes from editing, finding the right clips that you want to use. The even just the picture, the thumbnail that you want to use. Sometimes
yeah,
that takes a lot of work. And I know for me, it's like I do this podcast and then sometimes I'll post it on YouTube. So I have to go through, edit the video, and then find a thumbnail, and then it's very time consuming. It could take me up to 2, 3, 4 hours to edit one
facts.
episode. So
Yeah,
you know,
facts. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, especially employers, they don't understand that other, people like us, we have lives outside of work. And so, content creating, like you said, it takes a lot of time. When you was a flight attendant, did you ever feel like you had to give up content creating at some point just to focus on that? Or did that help you throughout your journey as a flight attendant?
yeah. It's a lot of pressure because so as flight attendants, we only get paid per flight hour.
I
So
did hear about that. Yeah,
yeah, so driving to the actual airport, nothing. Being at the airport, nothing.
that's
Waiting,
crazy.
nothing. It's no money until the door closes. That's when we start getting paid. So, like with that, it's like, man, at certain points, it is important to have a balance because it could be like, damn, I've been running around all week. I haven't even shot a video. You know what I'm saying? And it can get choppy and dicey that way. But it just really depends on how bad you want it. I guess how bad you want to be consistent because I see the growth with my channel. And I'm like, I can't if I start playing around now. It's gonna start losing. I'm gonna start losing people, and so it really just depends on you, but it is taxing. I'm not gonna lie. It is taxing with any job, especially one where you always gone.
Right. Eh, Is your plan to at some point fully transition to content creating, or it's just going to be something that you do outside of your actual 9 to 5?
I would like to do it in addition because being a college professor is like my dream. Like I love teaching, so I would love to do it in addition to that. That'd be great. But if something crazy happened and I, you know, couldn't go to grad school or whatever, then I would be content only doing content creation because I know how much work goes into it.
Okay, yeah. So that's going to lead me to my next, because I do want to talk about your ultimate goal is to be a,
Mhm.
a college professor. Um, I'm curious because I see this happen all the time, especially with people already in the field of study that they're in. Let's say, 2 years from now, you're making good money off of YouTube, your content is blowing up. Would you consider putting your plans to be a college professor on hold to focus on that?
Nah.
No.
if anything, I would do them both because I know like I would just have to find out like what time works for what and then plan my classes around the YouTube scheduling. But yeah, nah, I can't see myself. just abandoning it, for any reason.
You know what? That's smart, because I think it's good to get both sides, because normally uh a lot of people, when things start going well, they quit their full-time job or whatever to focus on that. And don't get me wrong, the money's good, but it's only a certain amount of time that you can make money off of YouTube and stuff. Because you
Yeah.
see a lot of these big channels from like when we were in high school and college, they don't really make that much money no more, because people
Yeah.
moved on, they kind of faded out, and you got the new channels doing bigger and better things. So I think that's a smart play.
And I feel
Um,
like that for depending on the type of channel you got, what I'm saying, not all of them are gonna give you longevity. Like not all channels are gonna, what I'm saying, like the reaction videos and like the little funny videos now are cool now, but I don't think that's like a long term. That's what you about to stay on. That's what we're about to stand on type thing.
yeah, I think the only channels, I don't follow a lot of channels, but I know one channel I do follow, Mr. Beast. I could see him lasting for a long time, because I mean his content is just dedicated to money, and people
Oh,
love
okay.
free money and opportunity
Of
to get free
course,
money.
yeah.
So um, you know, I mean, I'm curious with your kind of videos, because you do talk about a lot of, I want to say controversial, because you're probably not doing it in a controversial way, but they're still controversial
Of
in
course,
our
yeah. By
society.
nature.
Do you ever get flagged by YouTube, or people trying to, report your videos and stuff like that?
Nah, I've never been reported or flagged, but I mean, beside the usual, like I remember I used a J. Cole snippet in one of my videos, and they were like, "You can't use it." Like it took the monetization off. I was like, "Oh my god!" But mainly not because I don't say anything reckless. Like I'm not not out here talking crazy. But yeah, no, nothing has been flagged. Even though I'm sure some people wanted some videos that I made to be flagged. No, nothing's been too crazy to where it's gotten taken off YouTube.
You one of the lucky ones.
I guess so.
I've been.
I hear horror stories all the time.
Someone tried to report me. It was what was it? I think it was the Harry Styles video. I did some. It wasn't a reaction. It was more so talking about. Oh no, it was the Bill Burr monologue that he did for SNL. He made a joke about white people and whatever. And I think that's my highest view video on my channel, and people thumbs it down, was trying to get it taken off of YouTube just because they didn't like the way how I was joking around and agreeing with him.
Yo,
They thought it was too offensive.
that's that's crazy.
You know what though? Like I said, when you become, when you're your authentic self and you put yourself out in the public eye, you have to be ready to receive hate and love.
Oh yeah,
And
we're gonna
and
get
I
some scrutiny.
right. And I think a lot of people, content creators too, I think and this is another question I ask you. A lot of content creators, they get so used to maybe the love that they get from the family and their friends, then when you actually enter the other side, YouTube or whatever platform you're using, you get people who hate your videos. They don't like it. They always complain, leave crazy comments, because YouTube, so people do it all the time. It gets very discouraging. Have you ever felt discouraged as a content creator, that maybe you need to take a break, a mental reset, or maybe it's time to put this on pause for a little bit?
Yeah, especially when I first made my channel, I was like, man, like I would make videos and I post them. I'm like, man, who's even watching this? Like, who even cares? Like, I don't even know if anybody's interested. But at a certain point, you got to decide whether you're doing it for like the attention or popularity of people, or if you're doing it for you. And making these videos is something that I appreciated, and something that topics and opinions that I wanted to share. So I don't give a damn who watches it. What's important is that I do it and put it out there for myself.
And that's the bottom line, because Lauren says so.
That's right. What I say goes.
Now, so you mentioned that your overall dream is to be a college professor.
Right.
What when at what point in your life did you decide that that's what you wanted to do?
I was I was fortunate enough to learn my passion early, like kind of what I was talking about earlier. If you, like if kids find out what drives them, then they can focus on that rather than, anything else. So relatively early, I learned, like, I was like, okay, I was 19 when I took my first uh, job being a kind of a teacher, but a teacher for after school program for a nonprofit.
Okay.
And yeah, I was like, okay, I really like this. And then I took another teaching job that was actually a teacher, like as a substitute. I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. So I was fortunate enough to find that super, super early, like 18, 19, and be able to focus on that throughout, just the duration of my life. But uh, I was one of the lucky ones. I feel like people don't really understand what they want to do, what they like until a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
they've actually tried a bunch of different things and like, okay, I really like this. So early for me, but normally I think maybe like, what you think, like 26? That's when people start figuring it out.
That's being generous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's different for everybody, but I mean, maybe that's average. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, I don't mind being 35 sleeping on my mom's couch.
Everybody got their own thing,
Exactly.
different strokes for different folks.
Hey, exactly. The unemployment, hey man, it was paying good for a while, so I can't blame
Man,
people.
that's what everybody was telling me last year. They was going crazy with that unemployment.
You was working on last year?
Working, yeah. I was like,
Damn.
why am I here? Like, they having a great time.
I'm telling you, you missed out on a great opportunity.
I know, man. I know.
You know what is crazy? I'm kind of, some parts of it I miss because of the freedom of not having to clock in and clock out. But I think for a lot of people, they made more money off unemployment than they did at their regular job. So,
And I feel like if that was the case, that is absolutely criminal. Like, you telling me you devoting 40 hours of your life to a job and you can't afford to pay your rent? That's crazy. That should not be legal. Like, what's going on?
you know what, man? It's not surprising. I mean, for me, I didn't complain because I I live a life where my passion is acting, so I don't slave 5 days a week. I do
Okay.
3 or 4 maybe if I want to do it, but
Hmm.
I know for a lot of people, yeah, they work day in and day out. If you work in the restaurant industry, that's one of the biggest ones because I worked at Dave's Hot Chicken up in North Hollywood, and it was fun. But for people who are like 45, 50 years old, that's not really good money right there. So I mean,
Yeah.
to go from making $1,500 a month to over 4,000,
That's how much they was ragging them out?
let me tell you, let me give you a little secret. Hopefully the FBI ain't listening. What I would say at the height when they was doing the $600 a week, I think I was pulling in around 4,500 a month.
Yo, I would have
And
went
no,
stupid.
and the crazy part is if you got the highest, I think the highest in California is 450 just from unemployment. So with the extra 600, that's you looking at 5 grand a month just doing nothing. So
Yo,
that's why
man,
everybody was buying Gucci bags.
man, that's why the prices went up. They said, "No, y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all got that $5 in gas. Y'all got it."
Not anymore.
Yeah, done now.
Yeah, exactly. That lifestyle was short lived. It was good, but
Man,
it was short lived.
that's crazy.
Oh
Racking
man.
them out.
So you know, at, all jokes aside, being college professor, is there any school or I know you talked about doing sociology.
Mhm.
Is there any school or a direction that you plan on going in the future? Like, where do you see yourself at in 5 years?
I want to start I want to start at like JC, like 2 year, maybe private college level. Nah, I'll take that back. I want to start at JCs and then kind of move into universities. I'm not necessarily married to the idea of staying in California either. I wouldn't mind going to another state, but yeah, I mean, not necessarily a specific school. I just know how I want to progress. Like, I want to start because I went 2 year, 4 year, and now grad school. So I want to kind of do the same thing with the teaching career, like start at a 2 year, be there for maybe like 3-4 years, then go to a 4 year college, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually, work my way up. But yeah, I don't really have any specific place that I would like to be at. I just know I want to teach.
So I know we talked about it. I kind of asked you, but what made you decide to go into teaching and being a professor? Because I know for a lot of people, teachers and professors I've talked to all the time, the money isn't the greatest unless
Oh,
you go to you're a professor at USC and you work in the music center. So
right,
then
right.
that's good money. So obviously for some people it's not the money per se that makes them do it. But what made you go in that direction? Because a lot of people don't think about becoming teachers and professors, growing up.
Yeah, no, so that's absolute facts. If I wanted more, like if money was the only objective, I think I would be somewhere doing like, I don't know, maybe like something with code or tech or something. Because that's the easiest $100,000. You know what I'm saying? 4 years, 100,000, cool, like guaranteed. Especially now. But yeah, if teaching wasn't my passion, and that's really the main thing that is my driver for obtaining my like degrees and want to take this path, is because I want to do something that I'll enjoy doing, in 20 years from now. Not something that's like it is good money, but it's boring, or I don't enjoy it or anything like that. So that's really the only driver. Also, I like to help people understand the world around them. So, doing that, kind of gives me like a sense of gratefulness for myself. And it makes me feel good because I'm helping somebody else too. So those things combined are like, all right, I'm gonna be a professor. But I just wanted a bag. I'll be in tech. Easy. That's the easiest direction.
Man, my buddy's sister, like straight out of college, she graduated last year, and I swear to God, I think she was pulling 100K her first job. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. If you work in tech, it's easy to do that. Easy money.
Good. I'm like, Lord, and you work from home, so you get to save most of that. Oh
And you get
man.
and you honestly, you can move. Like you can go to some super low cost state and then have a remote job in tech and it just work. And
But you know what, man? It goes to show that it isn't about the money for a lot of people. Because,
yeah.
like, I know even my mom still to this day, she always like, hey, you should become a lawyer, or, get a real job. And it's like, I, I understand why people feel that way, but it's like if you love your passion,
Yeah.
then you know what I'm saying, and you have the opportunity to make it a career, then you know what I say, go for it. I think you shouldn't get discouraged because it seems to me nowadays everybody's a rapper. I swear to God, every time I turn around, I swear to God, it's like
Everybody a rapper.
everybody a
We need
rapper.
plumbers. Why are y'all rapping?
Exactly.
It's electrician jobs opening left and right. Y'all
Yeah,
rapping.
I need somebody to fix my toilet. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean it's really just passions, man. I feel like it's tough, man, because on one hand, it's like you want people that you love to be stable and to be organized and to not have to like worry or want for anything and to get a job that provides that. But at the same time, you want to enjoy life. So if I'm doing something every day that I don't want to do, I'm just doing it for the money. It really just seems like I exist for money at that point, not for me, for what I
Right.
love, for my pleasure. So yeah, that's kind of the perspective I have. It's like life is too short to be doing something forever just because it's good money.
Right. But you know what? You made a good point, and I think that's a good takeaway too, is the fact that if you have a career that you want to do, you know, go for it. Because I think a lot of times with content creating, people see, all these big channels and TikTokers and Instagrammers, you know, making money, and they think, oh yeah, let me quit my job as a police officer to go do that. And then, 5 years in, even if you didn't make money, you realize the money's not stable. You got
Yeah,
kids at home. We're fortunate enough that we single and don't have kids. But if you have a family or you want to start a family, it's important to know that a lot of times these content creating jobs is only for a limited time. So it's good to have a backup plan. And it's coming from a guy who don't really have one, but um I'm just being honest. But I knew since I was a teenager that I wanted to do acting. So I live my life according to the fact that I know I'm not going to make until I'm in Avengers, of course. I'm not going to make 200 grand a year. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people have to be realistic. Not everybody's going to be a Mr. Beast. Not everybody's going to be a Khloe Kardashian. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
and I think that's the problem with our society nowadays is that they push more about money and fame and having a selection of cars in your driveway, opposed to having a steady job,
Yeah.
because let's be real, out of all the SoundCloud rappers I know, maybe one is good enough to get a meeting. Maybe one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's just, our kind of philosophy, I guess, in the West is like people would definitely get a Birkin bag before, I don't know, something more sustainable like a down payment on a house or something. And that's, I feel like that's just what are your priorities?
Right. I mean, you know what? Like I was just having this conversation with my family when I was home for Thanksgiving. And it's like I will never stop, and I'm going to continue doing it. But even for me, living out here and all the opportunities I got, I'm like, you know what? I do like it out here, but I need to be somewhere where I enjoy life. Like I like LA, but I don't enjoy it here. And I'm
Yeah.
not doing the thing I want to out here as much as I used to when I was back in New York. So that's why I'm moving back, because I have more opportunities, I have more connections, I have more ways to make, money, opposed to here was you're very limited. You need a car for everything here.
Everything.
It's ridiculous. And I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people who live here 5, 10 years. They work more than they actually focus on their craft or their career.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, I don't want to be 35 years old, still working minimum wage jobs. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Facts.
over that. I
That's
am over
facts.
that. So but you know what? But that's why I asked you if you ever decided to quit, if you will ever quit, because
Mhm.
a lot of people they see the money on the other side of the content creating, they quit, and then a couple years later they're like, damn, maybe I should have stuck, did that on the side. So I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
important. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that your career on the side, but you had your main career, and then the content creating, it was just extra. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So um, is there any advice that you would give people who want to go into content creating or want to get into education? Do you have any um inspirational things or messages you want to give people who want to enter that?
Yeah, I mean, shit, just do it. Like a lot of the time, people are like, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to start something. I want to start a channel." And the best advice I think anybody can give is just do it. Start it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be a complete thought. Just start. You can start shooting videos from your phone, and then who knows? In a few years, you might have like a production team and script writers and all this. So just start. Just start right where you at, right when the idea is born. Saying make it happen and make it a reality.
That's perfectly said. I don't even got a rebuttal. This is the first time I'm speechless on my own show. Now, I always tell people, if you haven't, it's funny. I was just talking to a guy at the gym when I went this morning. It's like 42 years old, and he was asking me for advice about acting and stuff, and I was like, you know what, man? You rather say you tried and you gave it a shot and you failed than be 65 years old thinking about what if I would have did that. So
I wish.
yeah, I wish. That's the worst part, is like going through life
Mhm.
like I wish I would have did that.
Yeah.
No, I this podcast, like I literally just started one morning on my phone. It wasn't the greatest audio, but I literally just started by picking up a phone. I had a buddy, join me, and we just talked about, I don't even remember what the first episode was, but I think it was about politics, something I'm not even familiar with. But it
And
just
it
started.
developed.
It just started by one morning. I'm like, you know what? Let me actually do this. And then
Yeah.
now, not bragging or anything, but it was one of the most listened to podcasts on Spotify. So I think
that's awesome. That's just progression,
and that's all it takes. Like, people, if you have an idea or a goal or something, do it. You rather fail knowing that you tried than not doing it at all. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to content creating, that's one of the problems or things that people face, is the fact that they don't want to fail, but you have to take the risk. It's with everything.
Oh, failing is just a part of the game. Like, you're gonna fail, especially like when you first start anything new. You're gonna fail at, but I feel like people, if we're afraid to fail, then we're not afraid to really learn nothing. How are you gonna learn something if if you already know how to do it? You know what I'm saying? You're already good at it. It's
Right.
not starting anything new at all.
Right. And and what would you say to people? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people, in their car driving home from work, as we speak, who have full-time jobs, and like you had a full-time job for a while.
Mhm.
Um, how did you balance the full-time job and content creating? And like, what advice would you give someone in that same predicament?
So what I did, well, what I used to do, I had I had like three jobs. So I was a flight attendant, also shooting videos on the side and editing them.
That's how you
Uh,
got the Tesla. Got it.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You got hustling is definitely in the veins, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So flight attendant, shoot videos, edit videos, and and I also uh, sometimes I would work. My aunt has a cleaning company, so sometimes I'll go out and help her clean. It's like commercial, so offices and industrial buildings and stuff. So
Ah,
all those on the side, it's like with the little side hustles. And then recently I found out a way to replace one of those. So I got a vending machine. I just bought it from Craigslist, and then I put it in one of my friends. She has a nail salon. Put it in there, and then that makes like $200 a month, and that completely replaced the cleaning job. So like now that's like residual or whatever. But I say all that to say, if you're consistent with something, and even in the times where you feel like you have no time, give yourself one weekend out of the month and devote your time to like content create. Like, I'm gonna shoot and edit on this Saturday and this Sunday. And then from that one weekend a month, you're gonna see progress, and it's gonna be two. And eventually it's gonna be three. And then eventually you'll start moving things around and prioritize it. And honestly, I've never seen somebody, even if they're terrible at it, I've never seen somebody devote their time to something and fail. Like, what I'm saying? You put in 30 hours a week at anything, you're not gonna fail. Like, this is because nobody else is putting in that same amount of time as you.
right, right. But it goes back to, even if it's not failing, I wouldn't even say fail. Maybe it was a little harsh to say fail. But even if you get to a point where, because some people do, you get to a point where it's like, you know what, I don't have enough time. I got a family, or I got other priorities to deal with. At least you said, you know what, I did it. I gave it a shot.
Give it your best shot. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's what's all important. Um, but any final words for the people? Because this has been a good conversation, man. But we don't want to put the people to sleep either. So
I got you. Nah, well, yeah, definitely. Find me on YouTube, Larry Chats. That's my YouTube channel. You'll see my smiling face as soon as you tap the link. Larry Chats. I'm on Instagram as well at Lawrence0295. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you for having me on, though.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And for the record, normally you have to ask permission to plug your stuff, but I'll
Oh
let
my!
that. I'm kidding.
I mean to break the rules up here. My bad.
You got Tesla. I know you got $2,000 to slide.
Man, damn, I'm breaking rules. My bad.
Yeah, right now I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Nah, man, this will be like, for me, like when I do stuff like this, like, it's supposed to give people fun. It's supposed to be entertaining and fun, and also informational. So thank you for coming on, man, because I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and it's always good to get another perspective on life, different things. Someone who has life experience outside of the things I do too. So I think it's very important to always hear that perspective, especially as a Black man. Um,
Thanks.
and you know what? Let me ask you one more question.
Yeah,
One more
what's up?
question. Um, Mental health. I'm just curious. Mental health. we talked about it in the Jubilee episode too.
Mhm.
Do you think, um, as Black people, we undervalue mental health? And have you ever struggled with mental health, throughout the years of being a flight attendant, or a full-time job, or just in general?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say Black folks like specifically. I would say Black folks like in addition to a lot like Asian communities definitely don't. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah,
Latin communities is definitely the same. Like, why are you talking to a therapist? Are you crazy? Whatever. So I feel like seems like a common misconception pretty much across the board because everybody I've talked to,
that's fair. That's
nobody's
fair.
really been like, yeah, my grandma told me to get a therapist. Like that's really not the mentality. It's kind of a newer phenomena, I guess, for lack of a better description. But I don't think we specifically struggle with it any more than anybody, but we definitely are in line with the struggling groups of people that do. And for like personally, yeah, I have a therapist. I've had a therapist for 2 years now. 2 years. I've made videos on my channel about like therapy and like why it's necessary. And yeah, just it really just depends on what you as a person are willing to accept. Like, are you willing to understand that okay, maybe this might be a little off, maybe I could better myself mentally in these areas, and really just diving into that. And that's what's really helped me because that keeps me grounded, talking to my therapist, getting different ways to cope, understanding different perspectives and different things that people do really helped me kind of progress into the place that I am now. So yeah, we as a community need it more than ever now,
Oh,
especially, what I'm saying? Like, especially
yeah.
in light of like the recent things that are happening. Like as a Black person, you know what it's like to be Black. But if you turn on TV, see somebody being murdered on TV, choked out, it's like that's trauma. Like you have to deal with that and address that. So definitely I think everybody needs therapy.
Oh, I for sure agree. And you know, is there, besides having a therapist,
Mhm.
is there any tips or tricks or anything you do specifically when your therapist isn't available, or you have enough time to do it yourself? Is there anything that you do that helps you, like when you're going through something mentally?
Yeah, sometimes I just take a moment, like, if you're driving. Now, I wouldn't say like pull over or something, but if you're just at home and you're feeling some kind of way, you're upset or whatever, like I would definitely say take a moment and let let yourself feel whatever it is that's going on. If you sad, don't be like, no, I'm all right. Like, don't, like actually let your feelings take their course. And another thing is to like maybe look up coping mechanisms, like healthy, positive coping mechanisms. A lot of people, a lot of times we get down, we want to feel better, and we do things like go shopping, or a coping mechanism is like fighting or punching holes in the wall. That stuff really isn't productive. So looking up healthy coping mechanisms and like letting yourself feel your emotions is definitely that's something that I do when therapist isn't available or whatever. And just times are tough. Just give yourself a minute and then all right, what's a healthy way I can cope with this and make me feel better?
That's beautiful. And the only reason why I decided to ask you that was because there's a lot of people, full-time jobs, have side hustles, something that they're pursuing, whether it's content creating or just something in general, who probably don't have a lot of people in their life who have that experience of having to juggle a full-time job, the other priorities that you have, and stuff like that. So it's
Uh,
always good to, get somebody else's perspective on mental health too. So um, that's the money shot. I think this conversation's been good. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm expecting my 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be waiting for that in the mail.
That's fact. Shoot, me too. What you mean?
Think about it like reparations.
Man, send them checks immediately.
Exactly. But thank
Appreciate it.
you. Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on, man. It was a good conversation. And I hope a lot of people enjoyed this conversation too. And like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. Thank you, Lawrence.
Facts. Appreciate you, man. You have a good one.